So you got a new leadership role. Congratulations. And hopefully you've had a second to check out my other video on mastering your first week in leadership, which is linked on the screen if you want to go back to it. In my experience, the first month in a new leadership role goes really quickly, and it will be hard to remember exactly what you did and who you met during that time. However, a lot of people will remember your first month and your first interactions with them. So I think it's a great time to set up those initial relationships with your team and put in place how you really want to work together. Now, I have been there more than once. The nervous energy, the excitement, and the pressure to make a really good impression. But don't worry, with the right approach, you can set yourself up and your team for success. So let's dive into my first key tactic, managing expectations. This goes two ways. The first thing is to talk to your boss. Now, you will have done this in your first week already, but it's important to wind back to them after your first week in the role and get a good understanding of their vision or goals for you and your team, and what the key metrics are that you're going to need to focus on. The second way is meeting with your team. Again, this would have been done in that first week if you'd watched my previous video, but the follow-up conversations are deeper than that initial meet and greet. I recommend setting up regular catch-ups with your direct reports. My general cycle is fortnightly or weekly. I also ensure that I capture key actions from each of these catch-ups and share them with my team member. This really holds both of us accountable because my actions are never just one way. There's usually something in there that I need to follow up on too. This is also where you set some really clear expectations, clarifying what your working style is, how you communicate, how do they like being communicated with, and all of that stuff. The expectation setting is really important for your staff member to understand, as this is about where they stand with you and what you need from them in their role. It makes life a lot easier for you and the team if everyone's really clear on what the expectations are and where you really want them to focus and any boundaries. I have also done a video on setting clear expectations with your team, which is linked on your screen. Tip number 2 is to be visible and approachable. I think this is about building trust. If you have an office, don't stay in there all day long and expect that everyone's just going to come to you and get to know you by introducing themselves. An office does create a bit of a barrier between you and the rest of the team. You can say that you have an open door policy all you like. It can still be really intimidating to approach the boss just to say hi when they're new if they don't have a particular question or something that they need, as they may feel like they're interrupting you. If you can be visible in terms of being out and amongst the team and doing things like going to the staff room to eat your lunch so that you can talk to people in a more casual setting. That way people will feel more comfortable approaching you without needing to interrupt you in your office. If you have remote working as an option, I would recommend trying to limit this for the first month while you're settling in and getting to know your team. This helps you get to know who people are and be present and visible. I also think it's really important from a building engagement perspective. Scheduling those one-on-ones with your team is also part of being visible and approachable, as then they get to know you on that one-on-one setting as well. But also holding regular team meetings can help too, as it not only keeps everybody updated, it helps foster communication within the wider group. Being visible and approachable is a really important component to leadership, and I think that first month is quite crucial to help build this trust with your team. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Nikki and I've been in leadership for over 17 years. I've gone from leading just 2 people to leading leaders of large teams, and I've had a few new starts in my leadership journey. So tip number 3 in your first month of leadership is to build a bit of a feedback system and embrace it. And for my leadership channel, one of my forms of feedback would be if you would subscribe if you're getting something out of this video. Now, the thing is with being a leader that some of us find a little bit more difficult is that we actually don't have the answers to everything. And that's okay. I think that great leaders continuously learn and improve, and one of the ways of doing this is to actively seek feedback from your team, your boss, and even yourself through reflection. This is about getting a bit of a sense check of how things are going and what you might be able to do better or what is working for you and your team. It does require a little bit of ego shelving and being prepared to open up to potential criticism. And what I've found is the way that the criticism will usually show up in a new leadership role is through statements such as, "Oh, that's not how our last manager did things, or said things, or wanted things." So I would usually follow those kind of things up with, "Well, tell me about that. How did they do things, or say things, or want things? And how did that work for you?" More often than not, initially in that first month, I'll just get a generic response about it just being different. But sometimes there's a gem in there that you can really take on board and help with your own leadership style with that individual. Tip number 4 is to know your goals. This winds back to that initial conversation with your boss and what their goals are for you and your team in the role. What is the overarching goal that you are trying to achieve? What are the steps that are going to get you there or keep you on that path? It's important to get really clear on this as quickly as you can, as that'll really guide some of the decisions that you'll need to make. It also helps when you're building expectations with your team on what you want them to emphasise in terms of their priorities. You'll want a way to check in on the progress of your goal and how you're going to track it. Now, it's important to note that you may not achieve great progress in that first month in your leadership role, depending on what that overarching goal is. But I would really try and understand clearly what that goal is supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do in my role to get us as close to that as I can. It ensures that you're quickly starting on the right path right from the start. And if you're personally trying to look at ways that you can set up your own leadership expectations and goals for your career, make sure you check out the link in my description about the Leadership Career Blueprint, which assists you with getting to that leadership job that you dream about and creating a clear pathway to achieve it. I'm actually launching the initial beta version of this course very soon, and the opportunity for 10 people to test it out for free. So if you want to be in for a chance to win one of the 10 spots in my Leadership Career Blueprint course, make sure you check out the link and get your application in. If the process is closed when you're watching this video, there will still be a link in the description if you want to hear more. Tip number 5 is to celebrate the wins. Don't forget to acknowledge those achievements. Recognize and celebrate your team's successes, whether they're big or small. It helps boost morale and keeps people motivated, particularly when they know that you can see the effort that they're putting in. Celebrate your own wins too. You don't have to broadcast these, but if you're building relationships, setting clear expectations, being visible, getting and receiving feedback, and establishing a pathway to achieve the team's goals, then you are definitely winning your first month of leadership. So make sure you celebrate that. For those of you who need a little bit more support on how to coach your individual team members or how to give and receive feedback, check out the videos linked on my screen. And thanks very much for watching.